It's the men in blue versus the men in pink as Delhi take on Rajasthan in match number 30 of the Indian T20 League. You're watching Cricket Pundits in the company of Anubhav Jain, Ayaz, Memon and Mandira Lalvani. Ayaz, Mandira, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Anubhav.
Very much.
Since it's Delhi featuring in this encounter, I give Mandira the privilege to kick things off for us with her pre-match analysis as well as her player picks.
Many thank you for that honor. Delhi, unfortunately, has been plagued by injuries, and we're starting to see more and more of that. Just recently, Ishant Sharma has been ruled out. Amit Mishra has already been sent back. Rishabh Pant didn't play in the previous match against Bombay, which I think really hurt Delhi, by the way. Not making excuses, but FYI, because of his hamstring. And I think Delhi, in struggling with so many injuries, is then grasping at straws to get that cohesive 11 together. They're spoiled for choice in terms of talent, don't get me wrong, but in terms of that balance and combination and that talmeil to play together is where we saw some chinks in a very, very strong armor, sorry to use the cliche, in the match against Mumbai. So Delhi, I think, will have to be slightly more put together, and hopefully we will see Rishabh Pant back in action. I don't know what the status on his injury is, but I think Alex Carey in place of Rishabh Pant may not have really worked that well for the side altogether because Hetmyer was left out. On the other hand, we have Rajasthan. Again, Rajasthan, Ben Stokes, so much made of his return. Of course, he's one of the best players in the world, and he's come back and he opened the innings. Again, I feel a slightly odd choice because he opened the innings, which is obviously because he's there in the team, he has to open it and all that, but didn't fire over there. So I think Rajasthan has larger problems than we are seeing, because it's deceptive to say, okay, they won, but with what have they won? They have won, yes, with the tail, with Rahul Tewatia firing and Ryan Parag firing, may not happen every single day. At the end of the day, Steve Smith has played, he's had four or five single-digit scores so far, which is, as a captain, as an opener, as a batsman, as the top order batsman, it's pretty inexcusable. So I think Rajasthan has many more holes to plug. As far as the player picks are concerned, definitely Rahul Tewatia. I mean, how can you speak of Rajasthan now and leave him out? Because I think he's just key with the bat and the ball, and this youngster has made heads turn, and rightfully so. Sanju Samson, I think he was very impressive while fielding, and he still remains a very strong part of the team. Batting has become a bit erratic, but as we are seeing the match move on, the owners will also start to shift more towards the bowlers, because all the tracks are getting flatter, they're getting slower, and the spinners will start coming in and playing. And the third I want to talk about is Steve Smith. He has all too often blame the bowlers, doesn't take enough responsibility as far as the batsmen are concerned, needs to yet speak with his bat himself. And let's see how that goes in this match against Delhi, where all of these areas will be called upon, and he has to be sharp in each one of them, because Delhi is not a side to be messed with. Delhi players that I'm going to look out for here are, of course, I haven't mentioned Khalis or Rabada so far because he's pretty much flawless. He was backed about by Mumbai, but Rajasthan will find it tough to play somebody like Khalis or Rabada. Definitely Rishabh Pant, whether he's in or not. I hope he's out of his injury. He can play this match because I think he's pretty required. And if Rishabh Pant is in, then obviously Alex Carey will not be in, and then we get Shimron Hetmyer back. So I think that's the second one to look out for. And third is Marcus Stoinis, the power hitter, the big hitter, the one who can finish the innings, who can hit a few big belters out, and so that's my three for Delhi.
Thank you, Mandira. Ayaz, your turn.
Well, Rajasthan will be obviously in an inspired frame of mind, having won the previous match, from snatching victory from the jaws of defeat, as the cliche goes. And Delhi, having lost the previous match, but remember they lost to Mumbai, and also they had to have a change in the batting lineup with Rishabh Pant not there. So I actually have a lot of time for Alex Carey, because I watched him very closely in last year's 50-over World Cup, and he was, in fact, for many of us, Australia's best batsman. He just played so superbly. So he's a strong finisher himself. Rajasthan, just to take off from where Mandira mentioned, that you can't depend on Tewatia and Ryan Parag and players of this ilk, in that sense, relatively inexperienced, to win matches for you all the time. Even Sanju Samson is 25, 26 years old. You need your overseas stars to fire. Yeah. This is where all your big stars to fire, big guns. I think unless these 4 or 5 big stars of Rajasthan fire, or at least 2 of them, they're going to find it very difficult to beat Delhi. That's, to me, is very plain. My picks from this match, Tewatia, of course, and he's not a one-match wonder, as we've realized. He's consistently batting, and he's a bit Dhoni-like because he plays deep into the innings. He doesn't start hitting sixes as soon as he's come. There's Jofra Archer, who I think has been the consistently good performer for Rajasthan. In fact, even in the previous game, he was brilliant. Except for the last over when he went for a few. He was brilliant. And then Ben Stokes, you have to include him as your pick because not just because of the reputation he's got, but because there's so much vested in him as an all-rounder. So these are my three guys from Rajasthan: Tewatia, Archer, and Stokes. And from Delhi, Rabada, who everybody agrees on. R. Ashwin. He's been, for me, the craftiest spinner going along with Rashid Khan. Even in the previous match, he picked up wickets. He's just been so good and he's so motivated to prove a point. And then Shreyas Iyer. I think that he's as captain because he wants to now make sure that there's no further setbacks to his team's progress.
Understood. And as Ayaz and Mandira both pointed out, Delhi so far has been fairly consistent in this edition of the Indian T20 League, but they're coming up against a side that's been very unpredictable. But the fact that they've been unpredictable might make for an interesting prediction. Rajasthan, of course, having pulled off a couple of miracles, a couple of heists. So, Mandira, your take on who you see winning this contest between Delhi and Rajasthan?
I think Delhi for sure, for all the reasons listed throughout this conversation. And as you said, Rajasthan, there's only so many times you can pull off a heist or a miracle. You can't, and two back-to-back ones might be difficult. I'm not at all making mockery of their side or their challenge in any way in the ability department. They're not. But I think Delhi is a more comprehensive side, more stable side, more consistent side. And after their showing up against Mumbai in their last match, they'll be eager to, get their socks on and their act moving forward and getting more points on the table.
Thank you, Mandira. Ayaz, your take?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, Anubhav, that unless at least a couple of these overseas stars from the batting, not Jofra Archer, show up, make substantial contributions, then Rajasthan is always on the back foot, and depending on somebody to play a miraculous knock or something that Tewatia or a Parag. And that'll get increasingly difficult for two reasons. One is that the player himself will start feeling the pressure. The other is that the opposition is now working on ways and means to keep the likes of Tewatia and Parag and some of the others quiet. So earlier the focus was all on how to keep Smith quiet or Joss Butler. In fact, Butler, in my opinion, more than Smith and Samson, has been the issue because apart from one innings, he hasn't got going, and he's really the T20 specialist in the team, in the batting. So I'll agree with Mandira this time and say Delhi look to me the pick.
Consistent, comprehensive, formidable. These are only some of the words that my experts Ayaz and Mandira used to describe Delhi. But I think the same adjectives apply to my experts Ayaz and Mandira, who have been brilliant as always. Thank you so much for having joined us for another episode of Cricket Pundits. And please join us again on our One Play Sports Networks as we look ahead to Bangalore versus Punjab in match number 31 of the Indian T20 League. Until next time, stay safe, take care, and cheers.